welcome 10-figure podcast listeners and watchers. Like, I want to welcome you all. I have a really, really exciting guest. I kind of preluded it the other day whenever we were talking to John Hill, but it's something, if any of you know my background, before I got into digital marketing and my little space of SaaS, at this point in time, I was a sales guy. I did MCI, we did, timeshares, I did door-to-door sales. I've done it all. So sales has kind of always been my passion, and I always like to nerd out on it. And that's why I'm really, really excited to have Nishit Asnani here. Now, Nishit is the co-founder of a company called Sybill. Now, Sybill.AI is something that I was just introduced to the other day, and I think that honestly, it's going to transform my sales process, and that's really why I wanted to have him on. And I just want to welcome you to the show. How you doing today, Nishit?
Hey Nelson, thanks for having me on. I'm really excited to be on the show today.
Definitely. I appreciate you coming and taking some time to talk to us about Sybill. So give me just your elevator pitch on Sybill. What would you tell us? What is Sybill if it was just a layman coming up and finding it on the internet?
Yeah, sure. So a lot of the sales today are happening on Zoom or in general on video call platforms. So Sybill is your emotionally aware video call partner that helps you accelerate revenue. So essentially, you have this partner on the call, and it gives you an analysis of what really happened in the call. Who was excited? Who was not? Who could be a champion? Who could be a detractor? And if they were interested, what specific topics or discussions or use cases got your prospects interested? So basically, you get a better understanding of your prospects so that you can drive the deal forward in a direction that's mutually beneficial and thereby increase your revenue over time. Sybill is currently live in dozens of customers, and it's providing a lot of intelligence around the prospects, around the deals that the salespeople are going on, and around the collateral of what parts of your talk track, slide decks, or demos are doing well and which ones aren't, so that you can continuously improve your process and your collateral and move your sales team forward.
Okay. Now I want to kind of back up a little bit because I don't want to confuse anybody when we're talking about collateral and things like this. This analyzes individual conversations, right?
Yes.
Right. Exactly. So we're on the Zooms with these people. Like, it's going to really get you details that, I would say monitoring calls probably isn't going to. How did you stumble across the need for this? And how did you guys just come up with even the idea that you could even do this?
That's a great question. So back in the summer of 2020, when everything had moved to Zoom calls, classroom teaching had also moved to Zoom calls. And one of my co-founders, Gorish, was teaching a course at Stanford, and he realized that it was really hard to read the room while you're presenting content. And that's where the spark of the idea lit up. What if we could build a software to understand if people are engaged or not engaged in a video call? And as we went ahead and talked to a bunch of people in different functions and industries, we realized that this problem was most acute in customer-facing roles like sales and customer success. And that's where we started building Sybill.
Okay. So now we had a little conversation before here and kind of told you about my sales background. And I had the one manager that always told me about, the metrics that every conversation is 55, 37. And, for 55% of your body language, 37% of your words, or 38% is your tone, and then 7% is your actual words that you say. So with Sybill, like a lot of, as I've managed teams throughout in a lot of the companies, right? It's even whenever I say that, especially because most of my services have always been on the phone, right? People, they probably never really, I guess, verbalized or really thought about how much their body language really makes in this. But when you're talking about like some of the AI and some of the features that it's picking out, what are some of those things that it's picking out to give you those valuable metrics to be able to optimize your sales process?
Absolutely. So essentially, the building it up from the bottom. First of all, Sybill tries to pick up like some of the basic stuff that you exhibit in conversation. So just simply the gestures, like I'm gesticulating right now while talking, how people are smiling, the nods, the body language, leaning in, leaning out, and stuff like that. Once these things are identified, then based off of the baseline of the person, Sybill kind of builds it up into an understanding of whether a person is engaged during a certain part of the conversation or not. and whether the sentiment is positive, negative, neutral, whatever it is that is the case. And then we have a final kind of like an understanding or insights on top of a lot of these insights. So for instance, what is the buying propensity of each person, and what is the evidence to support that? And you can see for yourself in your Sybill call reports as to what leads Sybill to believe that a certain person is more likely to buy, and because of what particular reason.
That's very cool. Very cool. So let me ask you, when you're talking about these conversations and that people are having, is it something where like you have to be really a genius to be able to pick out these metrics and be able to analyze what the data that's giving you, or is it even something where somebody that's just getting started in sales could be able to pick out and find value in the data that it's giving to you?
So data is valuable even if you're just starting out in sales, because
I guess is it in a very easily digestible manner? I know we've got a lot of stuff coming out, or you've got a lot of stuff coming out in like a couple of weeks, so we're going to be presenting, so we don't want to show a lot. But from the data standpoint, like it's not really some high level spreadsheet that they're going to be giving you that you've got to be able to read thousands of columns, correct?
Oh no, of course not. Of course not. It is simple insights that are presented on Sybill, and you can go through them. You can click through various insights, and you can figure out, and you can see for yourself why certain people have been labeled as excited or distracted during certain parts of the conversation, and why not. And more importantly, um, you can drive your own conclusions as well. What Sybill is helping you to do is to review the call quickly and giving you its version of what really happened. Imagine essentially having a call partner in the call, like a human call partner, and then after the call, kind of debriefing with them. Hey, do you think this guy was interested in what we have to offer in integrations? And then the call partner is like, well, this is what I believe based off of how they reacted. I think there's a reasonable chance they are. That's the kind of conversation you're having with a call partner like Sybil.
That's a really good analogy. I think that like I didn't really context. It's literally like you're getting instant coaching feedback on it.
Exactly.
I think there's a logical interpretation there, obviously, but that analogy, I think, puts it into a really good context.
And moreover, you also have like the call notes after the call as well. So since Sybil is capturing the conversation, you also have sort of like one place where you can go back and revisit any specific terms that were discussed in the call, or the next steps, the follow-up items, or specific pain points that were mentioned in the call as well. So apart from being a call partner that gives you suggestions for what or sort of pointers on what happened, it also doubles up as a note taker.
That's very cool. So you'll transcribe your conversations. You can kind of go back and review them and improve. That's cool.
Yeah.
So this started out you said in the classroom interface. How did you start transitioning over into more of the sales aspects of things? And when, give me the idea of how that transition came about.
Yeah. So as I said, the original idea kind of came about from Gorish's personal problem as he was trying to teach a course in Stanford in the classroom, and essentially from there we realized that this problem of trying to understand humans on video calls better would be prevalent across the board. It's not just classrooms, because essentially the issue is that when you're in a in-person setting with a bunch of people, we as humans are attuned to kind of read the room, so to say, even if we're not trying to. Salespeople, even more so, are much, much more adept and like catch those certain small visual cues much quickly as well. But on a Zoom call, essentially what you have is, especially when you're presenting content, you can barely see the faces of the rest of the people, let alone put enough attention and mind space into it to be able to interpret how they're reacting to whatever it is that you're saying. And so we reason that this must be a problem that must occur across the board. The next question is, who faces this problem deeply enough that they would care about the solution? And so that is when we had conversations with people across the board, and we had a few friends of ours and even advisors of ours who were in sales or related domains. And when we talked to them, we felt and like it was very clear from their eyes and the way they reacted to what we were saying that they really resonated with it and they wanted a solution for this problem right away. And so that's when we decided, okay, let's make this transition, build this cool product because these guys really care about it. As we like over the last 1.5 years, like I've personally talked to over 300 salespeople from
Really?
like different industries and like in different kind of roles, and it's become more and more clear to me that like this is a problem that is worth solving. It's a big problem, and in some sense, like we're just getting started. We have a solution that's out there and that's being used and delivering value to our users, but there's lots more that can be done in this space.
Yeah, no, like I said when we were talking earlier, I think it's a truly exciting tool. Like because even in certain contexts, like I had conversations the other day, about
Hmm.
I may go into a lead with a different interpretation or a different process, and when I
Hmm.
when I know all of my metrics are based off of me following this process, but if I skip 2 or 3 steps in it and jump forward, then obviously I know that my results are probably going to be different. And
Hmm.
this tool
Hmm.
really gives me the ability to kind of analyze that. And I love the fact that it also analyzes the customer engagement as well. Like,
Hmm.
because obviously, we can do a lot through video to analyze ourselves and try and improve, but to be able to get some of those undertones, especially for those new salespeople that don't quite know, how to analyze tones or body language and things like that through a phone call. Like, I think it
Hmm.
can give them definitely some valuable information to grow. So
Hmm.
I think it's
Hmm.
awesome. Like we were talking before, I think it's a really cool tool, and I can't wait to start utilizing it more. Who can have access to the tool right now?
Um, so I would want to say everyone. so so essentially, our tool is self-serve. So you can go to Sybill.AI, you can create an account right away. By the way, it takes less than a minute to create an account and start
Okay,
using
what was
it.
that? What was that
Uh,
URL again? It was Sybil, and spell Sybil for us.
yeah, it's
Okay,
Sybill.ai. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, cool.
So yeah, you'll see our website with this light blue play button logo,
Well,
which I
we'll
think is
put it
really
down
cool.
below on the podcast as well on the YouTube channel. We'll put the link for you guys as well to check out. So
Awesome. So yeah, you can sign up, you can start using it, give it a shot for a few of your calls, and yeah, anyone can basically go to the website and start using it.
that's dope. That's dope. What's your long term goal with this? Are you looking for more of like an enterprise level tool with this, or is this something because you see it's got a lot to go, and I think it does too. I think it can go to the
Hmm.
moon. Like that's
Hmm.
we'll talk about my AI experience, but where's the next step once you kind of have gotten to I guess to where you can roll it out to everybody.
Yeah. So essentially, when we have over the last 1.5 years, as we've been building the tool, our primary focus has been to build it for the seller. So to build a true call partner for the person who is going on the call, uh, and like communicating with the prospect, giving a pitch, and trying to move the deal towards closure. So in a
Mm.
lot of the companies, that's the account executive, and essentially for that, and essentially we've made it for that sort of a persona. So we want them to be able to go and start using Sybil on their own, realize the value, and then kind of see if it's relevant for the entire sales team or for the organization, and go it that way. So that's how things have gone so far, and that's how we foresee things going over the next few months as well. But as you can imagine, things are fluid in startup land, so we'll see how what kind of pull we get from our customers going forward, and how that evolves.
That's cool. So let me ask you, and again, I've played with the tool a little bit, and you don't have
Hmm.
to answer this, but like, is there a scoring system inside of there, or is there potential in the scoring system to try and almost use it as a management tool as well for some of these things?
Yeah, absolutely. We have quite a few sales teams on the platform in which there is a sales manager persona. They may be a founder or a CRO or a VP of sales or a sales manager of a team, who have been using Sybil to kind of get more of an overview, insights of what's really happening with their team. So on Sybil, basically, every user can share their meetings with their teammates if they want to, and then
Okay.
and so as a team you can grow and learn together. Civil also provides you're referring to a score, right? So we do provide a Sybill score to each of the calls that you take. It's still in beta, so it's still in process, in progress of like how accurate it can be in terms of analyzing whether a meeting was good or bad. Where
Mhm.
you can use that over time, you can start using that as like a metric to
Yeah.
say that whether you're having good calls or not. A lot of the times what I see is like there are certain days where I'm totally rocking it and I have like really high Sybill scores, and those are like the highest that I get over the next 2 months. and then, and then obviously
You're
there are
almost
days
like,
when
damn
I'm
it,
like,
this is cool. Like, put those down a little bit.
exactly, I'm trying to top them and I'm just unable to. And then there are days when I'm like not feeling really high on energy, and I have wrap conversations. I bore the prospect out. I don't get further conversations, and obviously my
Yeah.
civil scores are dropping. So yeah, you can basically get directional signals on how you're doing, and over time try to improve upon that. So you can use that for self coaching or for helping your team improve as well. Another thing that you can do with Sybil is that for every call that you take, so for instance, as a sales rep, if you've taken a call and you realize that there was some objection during the call for which you did give an answer, but you're not sure whether it was the right answer or not, could that objection have been handled better? If you have that
Yeah.
question in mind, you can create a snippet, share it with your manager, and give their feedback on it as to what they think about it. So
Sure.
you can do that. And you can do all of that. So you can use Sybil not just as a as a go-to tool for helping you in your deal execution, but also for self and team coaching.
Yeah. How long can you save, sir? How long do the conversations save inside of Sybil?
Oh, currently there's no limit.
There's no limit. Okay. Because I was just
Yeah.
thinking, like, like I said, my sales background, right? And it's always one of those things. It's like, if you start to see your performance slip, you start to see it, then it's okay. Get back on script. Go back to the
Mm-hmm.
basics. Get back to script, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and that's, hey, I kicked ass on this call. Go back to that call. Figure out what I did. Figure out what I did right, right? And that puts
Yep.
that visualization to it, which I think is so cool. Because I mean, most sales guys I know, at least, they're very visual people,
Mm-hmm.
right? They like to have reference points and things like that. So I think that's very cool that
Yep.
you can do it. So how long did you say, Sybil? How long did it take you guys to kind of spool this up and get it into a MVP, like minimal viable product?
It took us a few months.
Yeah.
So we launched our first version of the product in private beta in last July, and in January we launched it for general usage so that anyone could go to the website and sign up and start using it. And in between, we had lots of feedback cycles with our users that helped us kind of improve the product and take it to a place where it was where it was delivering value to our users at that point. We've released quite a few amazing updates over the last couple of weeks that really elevate the platform to be a true call partner. So would really urge those watching us to try it out. You'll see
Yeah.
something
No,
cool
like I
and
said,
unique that you won't see in the rest of the
yeah.
market.
Like I said, I haven't ever heard of this technology. If I've heard of it, it's it's got to be Amazon doing it at like a mountainous scale, and you've got to have servers that ridiculous size, right?
Mhm.
I'm sure they do some things relative to this, but I doubt like to this level for the calls, like because like I said, this is something that body language component is something that I've always preached. We talked about that earlier, right? Like
Mhm.
it doesn't matter. Like if you're up, if you're more like you're more pronounced, like you can see that. And when you can visually present that to somebody and they're like, oh no, I did that call normal. Like, look, like you're sitting there like this, you're on the call, like, what's up? Like, how you doing? Right. That is such an effective coaching tool for me to be able to go and then to be able to have the higher level reps or the good calls that you can go back and reference and be like, you see how they were? Like, this is what they said. This is how the flow of it was. This is where the tone was throughout it.
Mhm.
Because again, from the limited use that I saw, it would just, it's gonna, if I'm smiling, if I'm like the brow controlling, like it's so, it picks that stuff out. And I think it's genius. You can't say enough about it. So let me ask you. So with Sybil, is it
Mhm.
something that has to spool up? Because I know with our AI system, we have a company called Lead Genius, and all of it was built around like Google Data Studio, and a lot
Mhm.
of that stuff, like we have certain sequences that are programmed in there. where they can pick up and they kind of, assist in the scaling capability. But with Sybill, is there any sort of like uptime that you need to wait on, or a ramp time in it from the time when they start to when it's going to be able to accurately gauge these calls and give you good data to make actions on?
So for a pretty high degree of accuracy, you don't really need any uptime. So um, again, since the beginning, like we've been designing our machine learning models so that they are able to be precise on detecting um, body language and nonverbal cues and context for your prospect. And typically, um, like in many of the calls that salespeople take, the process like you're talking to the prospect for the first time, and
Mm-hmm.
you may only get a few shots to talk to them. And if Sybill takes a few shots to get its insights right on them, that's not good enough. So we have kind of optimized it to the point that even if you're taking one call, it will be very precise even on the first call that you take, all of the insights.
That's
Um,
awesome.
Obviously it's always a work in progress, and so
Mhm.
and a lot of these things in terms of visual cues, in terms of figuring out how someone is feeling at a certain point of time, varies quite a bit from person to person and from culture to culture. And there may, like in all honesty, there may be calls where Sybil might get it wrong, that someone is excited where they were not really excited. But over time, that happens. That has become a rarer occurrence over time. And we've kind of kept that in mind in terms of designing the product and the copy out there as well. So whenever like there's uncertainty about a certain prediction, Sybil lays it out as this might be a potential champion. It doesn't know for sure, so it's you may have to figure that out
There,
on
it
your own.
does give kind of a
So
margin
yeah,
for error in there, but the
absolutely,
point, I guess, as it gets more data, it does get smarter.
yeah,
Is that okay? Yeah. Well, then
yeah,
and honestly, like that's I guess a good value prop with making sure our reps, especially within my organization, are using it more, right? Like the more you use it, the more valuable and the more accurate we get it. So
yep.
I think that's really cool. So is there any like I know with Sybill, and I'll let you answer this because I know with me getting started, I loved it. But how is the onboarding process with Sybill? Is it very difficult? Do you have to have a technology person within the organization to be able to loop into your process, or what does that process look like?
It's a very straightforward process. You don't need to have anyone else sitting out there. So basically, you hit sign up from our website,
Okay.
and then all you need to do is to connect your work email account and calendar, so that Sybil can figure out which of the meetings have a Zoom link and join those calls for you.
Okay.
And then, of course, you can, um, if you're using it for a sales team, you can connect it to HubSpot or Salesforce or whatever CRM you use, and so on. And that will only
So
enhance your experience.
integration with multiple systems is possible.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very cool.
So
Yeah,
so just to summarize, it's like super easy to get started and to get going. And if you want to really optimize your experience, then you have more knobs that you can turn to make it even better for yourself.
okay, cool. So it really is a good tool for anywhere from the beginner to the higher level. Which honestly, I find really high level enterprise sales. They don't want all the technology either. They just want to be able to call. But the analysis, I know. I think that I'm really excited to start using it on some of our calls. We're going to start using it tomorrow, actually, on a few calls.
Mhm.
Um, and I've got my other sales guy as well going to use it, so I'm really pumped to use it.
I'm
Now,
excited
again,
for you to
it's
use it as well.
I'm serious. Like I'm going to give you so much feedback on it. It's going to be praised because like that's the other thing is like being able to help some of your salespeople feel comfortable with it as well, because that was one of the things that, like I said, the revelation I had with John earlier was I was just like, it's like, man, I was like, this lady, I was like, we had a really good conversation. I was like, but she was running into a bunch of technical problems with COVID and getting containers and things like that, but won't even return our calls or emails. And I was like, we had a really good conversation. And then I started looking at it and I was like, well, actually, I just talked a lot. I just told her what we were going to do, now that I think about it.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
but having that data to be able to go back and show my other sales reps and things like that is like, hey, I still want to improve just as much as you guys do. So here, pick me apart. Here, take me. Here's do that. I think that kind of can open the door for a lot of sales teams to put the managers on the block as well. if I would say that. So with the AI technology that you guys are using, is it something that it also is going to? Is it just analyzing kind of the picture of it, or does it also analyze the tone of things? And does it? You said earlier it also types out a transcript of the conversation. Is there anything like? Is there any additional costs or any outside features that have to be adapted to have all of those features inside of the system? I know with some of those you mentioned earlier, like HubSpot, once you start tacking things on, the bill starts going up. Right?
Yeah. So currently, you don't really. It's pretty straightforward. You get all the features if you sign up.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Well, everybody should sign up, right? Again, what was the address again?
It's Sybill, Sybill.AI.
AI. Okay. And again, we're going to put that down below for the podcast as well. As far as, Sybill we've kind of come to the end of our interview. The biggest thing that I like to do at the end of these things is really just let you give the listeners your elevator pitch on what Sybill is again, and, why we should use them. And finally, just throw that URL one there more times so we know how to find you.
Absolutely, Nelson. So yeah, hey all. So if you're a sales rep and you're going to want a call partner for you who takes notes for you and also helps you kind of move the deal forward, or alternatively, if you're a sales leader, manager, founder who really wants to get a partner for each of their calls and for their team and help the entire team improve over time, Sybill could be the tool of choice for you. We are a young company. We're doing something really cool with emotional intelligence on video calls. We are one of the only companies in the market whose product actually understands what's going on in a call based off of people's body language and expressions, and helps you kind of drive the deal forward in a meaningful way. So yeah, hop on. Start using your emotionally aware call partner at Sybill.AI. It's Sybill.ai. And yeah, thanks a lot, Nelson, for having me here. This was a really fun conversation.
Thank you guys very much. And again, I'm going to have you back as well when we can show more of the system and kind of when you guys are ready to go, more live stream. Again, the biggest thing about this is from my sales experience, is, the simple fact that it doesn't matter how good you are at closing or what, you always have the ability to improve. And, this is a way that you can get super, super granular with improving your performance and your perfection in being a salesperson. So, I really do appreciate you hopping on 10 Figure and talking to us about today. I know that this technology is going to be $1 billion technology. Like I said, the fact that nobody had done it before surprised the hell out of me. But then also the complexity of doing it is probably, way over my head. So I'm super happy that you came on, and, again, go out, guys, check out Sybill.AI. Check out the service, give him your feedback, because I think that probably will help them grow faster than anything. The more feedback we can give them, and the more, about ability to give them use cases for them to solve, is probably only going to help all of us individually much more. So I definitely appreciate you being on here. I'm going to definitely follow you guys as you're on your path to being $1 billion company. It's definitely $1 billion technology already. And I appreciate you, Nishit. Have a great day. And thanks a lot for being on the show.
For the kind words, Nelson. Take care.
Thanks a lot.